Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
Everybody, welcome back to Breaking Barriers. Today is an exciting day. We have with us today Benjamin Eckman of Elder Law. Ben, thank you so much for taking the time. Obviously we know you're busy, so you spending it here with us means the world. For people out there who are like, who is Ben? What is Elder Law? Can you please give them, a quick rundown?
Benjamin Eckman is my name. I have an office in Union, Hackensack, and Wayne, New Jersey. We canvass roughly 6 different counties in New Jersey. I have been practicing elder law and estate planning for the last 25, 26 years since I graduated law school. Went to Seton Hall in the heart of Newark, New Jersey, graduated in 94, opened up my practice in 95, and I've been assisting families and loved ones for the last, you do the math, 95 to 2022. So that's a good number of years, 27 years. And elder law is the relative, if you will, of estate planning. Everybody has heard of estate planning, and that's what happens with your money when you pass away. Everybody wants to get their will in place. Everybody wants to name their children or their charities as beneficiaries. But few people are concerned, and that's where I come in to deliver this message. What happens to your dignity and your money? God forbid you go to a nursing home. God forbid you have a stroke or dementia settles in or has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. Well, if you go to a nursing home in Bergen County, for instance, the daily cost is $450 plus. So you're looking at a $15,000 a month nursing home bill. There's not going to be much left for an estate. And that's where the focus has got to go and shift from what happens when you die to what happens if you get sick during your lifetime. And that's pretty much the message of elder law, to protect your assets and your dignity during lifetime.
That's a big bill. That's a lot of money to think about, because I feel like when somebody thinks about planning for their life, you don't always have a retirement home in the books for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't always, at least for me, it's not something that I really thought about at all. So with that being said, how early should somebody be planning these events for their life?
So one of the things that I remember early on was I did a survey of local nursing homes back in 95, 96, and cost of care was a affordable $6,000 a month cost, which made sense. Now it jumped from 6,000 to 15, 16,000, and that's going to be an ouch for the patients and their families. So how do you pay for it? There are primarily 3 ways to pay for it. The first one is to self-pay. You sell your house that you've lived in all your life, and you wind up paying each month to a nursing home the cost of care until the money runs out, in which case you'll then convert over to Medicaid. The second way of paying is if the person is very proactive, they take out a long-term care insurance policy. And that long-term care insurance, just like everything else with fire insurance or homeowners insurance or car insurance, you're insuring against a risk, but you're spending a lot of money each and every year in premiums to insure against that risk. For instance, ask your audience members, all of you guys have cars, all of you guys have houses. How many fires have you encountered in your house? How many times have you filed a car insurance claim? Same idea with the long-term care insurance market. It's a very expensive product, but without having that product, the cost of care is very, very expensive. And the third way to pay is where I come in, where I sit with the family and I move the assets around from a exposed category to a sheltered category. And by doing so, they qualify for Medicaid so much sooner.
What do you say to people, like, again, I think it's so interesting because the younger generation, right, I'll say 30 and sub 30, right, so millennials and Gen Z right now, their heads are so far out of that thought process, and it's not even a thought, right? Like life insurance is not even a thought in most people's heads when they're like sub 30, I think. Mm-hmm. Now, seeing what you're saying, I have, watched some TV shows like The Sopranos where, you see Paulie's mother was in the thing, he's like, it's $10,000 a month, Tone. So, I've seen that on TV, but then I've also experienced people who have had to put themselves in, their own with their own money into being taken care of, which is tough. So, back to Megan's origin question, what is your compelling pitch to people who are young that are like, I'm not going to start paying for this shit this early? Like what's the compelling pitch to shift that thought process?
So you mentioned The Sopranos, and you mentioned Paulie. In real life, his name was Jimmy Galfano, if I recall. Yeah. And there was a very interesting estate case about him because he died without a will, surprisingly. And there was a big issue, just like Prince, the artist known as Prince. That's a name you may remember. Yeah. He died without a will, and there was a big contest about that. There has been Supreme Court justices that have died without wills, and there have been estate litigation matters over their respective estates. The big thing that I'm facing isn't for a 70-year-old or 90-year-old. I'm facing situations now with 30-year-olds that they have all of their photos and all their codes on Instagram and Spotify and Facebook and Apple and all that stuff. Those codes in which they've saved all their data, where are they going to be saved? Where are they going to be transferred to the next generation? And without the right kind of planning in place, maybe a 30-year-old doesn't have $50 million, but they've got 50 million pictures and selfies all over the world with them taking pictures of friends and what have you. So you have to store that. So that's part of estate planning. So estate planning has gone from the wealth to transferring items that matter to family members and individuals.
I see what you're saying. What does the cost look like for something like that? I want to really educate people so that they understand the difference. So if somebody's trying to just get started or an entry level, what's the base or ballpark cost for something like that?
So we sit with the client. We basically have a consultation, lasts typically an hour, and within the hour we are able to really flesh out the issues. When you have a 90-year-old individual or 70-year-old individual who's come to me and they have to put their loved one in a nursing home because that person is demented, we have to do transfers of assets. We have to do powers of attorney, guardianships, living wills, healthcare proxies. I can tell you stories upon stories about what's going on in my desk today. Okay?
Right.
We charge a consultation of $500, and that enables us to have a real merge between the facts that the family knows and the law that we know. Okay, they have an unfair advantage over us, if you will, initially, because they have all the facts. We have to get up to the facts and circumstances of the respective case. I know the law, and I can carve out the exceptions to the law to fit that situation, but I have to be up to pace. So we start with a consultation, of $500, which is credited to future work. Now, there are attorneys who will give you a free consultation. I appreciate that, and I respect that. But I've had clients who have come to me who've said, we've gone to colleagues of yours who have given free consultations, and you. And whereas they go around the bush and hem and haw, you go right to the matter of fact because you're giving us concrete answers because we're paying for concrete answers. I do not believe in fluff. I believe in sincerity. The client needs to know exactly what they can expect, because if they don't expect, or if they aren't aware of it, and it's a big surprise, it's going to shock them. And that's something we don't want to do. We want them to handle the medical and the emotional aspects of handling the nursing home admission. We will handle the legal and the financial.
Got it. Thank you for that.
This podcast is sponsored by Hatteras, a leader in print-based communications, with services ranging from high-impact direct mail and packaging to retail graphics and environmental branding. Hatteras helps global brands engage with their target audience through the power of print. Reach out to them at hatteras.us for help with your next print project.
One of the questions I think too, I want to move away for a quick second. So a lot of people, whether they're in high school or they're in college right now and they want to be an attorney, I know that being an attorney is not something that happens very quickly, right? It's a long process, a lot of studying, a lot of education, right? What piece of advice would you give to younger people who want to become an attorney that may be going through it and that are like, damn, this is freaking tough? Any advice that got you through law school?
Oh, that's a great question. And I'm going to make another reference to a movie that you've never heard of, but the movie was called The Paper Chase. All right. And it's a common thing that happens throughout law school. You look to your left, you look to your right. One of you guys won't be here in 3 years' time. Well, that didn't happen in my situation when I went to Seton Hall, but it did happen in the movie. What I was very blessed with was that I went to undergraduate program at Touro College, and I was an accounting major. So I knew I wasn't on track to be how shall we say, a clerk for one of the judges. I like the financial aspect of things. And in fact, because I had such a strong accounting background, merged with law when I graduated, I was actually recruited by the FBI to get into forensic accounting and to get into white collar crime. Sort of like that's how they got John Gotti, by tax evasion, as opposed to finding him pointing a gun in somebody. So the law has got a lot of different areas to it. And I got involved by going to a seminar that a premier elder law attorney in New Jersey was putting on. I had taken a couple of courses in law school about property and trusts and estates and tax. So it was a natural avenue. And when you're dealing with elder law, you're dealing with the compassionate aspect of senior citizens. Plus, you're also dealing with tax rules, and you're dealing with real estate and property laws all at once. So I'm doing a lot of different areas of law within the elder law umbrella. But if I were to advise my son or my children to get into law today, it would have to be in the area of health law, okay, and regulations along that tier. Because many years ago there was a case called Terry Schiavo and Nancy Cruzan and things of that nature, whereby the woman did not have a living will, and she wound up having a car accident. You may be familiar with some of these names. And because of that, New Jersey and many other states spurred an act called the Living Will Act, which enables people to make their own decisions vis-a-vis their health care before a situation arises. That's pretty much what I do for my clients. I make sure that they have their living wills in place so they can speak, or that document can speak for them in the event they're unable to do so. Fast forward, with Obamacare having been passed probably about a decade ago, there's a lot of regulations in the health law area, and we're aging as a society. I mean, I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but every day people are turning 65 and qualifying for Medicare and Medicaid down the line and Social Security benefits. There's a lot of areas of law that deals with that. International law is another very good area, because now that Thomas Friedman wrote a book, The World is Flat, right? And that basically means that everybody is connected. You can go to anywhere in the world that have business dealings with other parts of the world, as long as you have a legal background and you're good at it. So the area of international law, the area of health law, certainly elder law is a wonderful. Gone are the days of this glorious LA law days, or Suits in the modern era. All right, I'm quoting a television program from the 1980s called LA Law, which you may have heard of. But the one that your viewers might listen to or know about is Suits.
Love that show.
Day at every episode.
Yeah, love that show.
Dr. Joe is an expert with the leading residential solar company in the country. His passion to help others, combined with the goal of having the world run on the sun, can change how our planet is powered forever. It costs you nothing and can either totally eliminate your electric bill or at least cut it down significantly. It's free money. Go to www.drjoeknowsolar.com to see if you qualify for solar and help make the world a better place.
So is there any like, did you have any specific education hacks or things that you did that helped you study better though?
So when I went to law school, I already had a very solid background in accounting. So I had taken some tax-related classes in law school, in the undergraduate program. Right. I also took a business law course, so I was familiar with some of the ideas. Typically in law school, you have a core curriculum where you have to take civil procedure and contracts and property, constitutional law. Those are basic requirements in your first year, legal writing and the like. Once you get out of your first year, and I did pretty well my first year, once you're done with your first year, you can then choose to take electives. And I tilted more towards the financial rather than the litigation side. Some attorneys want to be civil litigators, and that means you're in the courtroom litigating, much like you would see in Suits. I'm behind the scene, and I stay more transactional, whereby a client will come to me and I have an IRA and I got to deal with this. So I know how to deal with the financial aspects of these legal entities and these transactions rather than dealing with the courtroom. That said, I do sometimes go to court whereby a client is demented and they have to apply for guardianship. So along those lines, we go to court and we ask the judge for permission to declare this individual a mentally incapacitated person, because
in front of them?
I'm sorry?
In front of the client?
Client typically is not available to
Okay, I was gonna say that's got to be tough standing there hearing that.
It's a very difficult procedure, because now you're stripping that individual of certain legal rights. A ward of the state is not allowed to vote. They can't drive. So you have to be very delicate with these kind of rules and regulations as you go forward with them.
This is like, I think similar. Are you familiar with the Britney Spears case? How she was under something similar to that? And she
Britney Spears is a singer, right? Just making sure. Yeah, I know who that is.
Yes. But she was under something similar where her rights were taken away from her, and she was deemed, mentally, she just wasn't there.
Her father was the guardian over that case.
Yes.
And I'd say about 2-3 months ago, maybe less, her father renounced guardianship, and that restored her to full control of her assets and her being.
Yeah, which I hear is really difficult to do. Once you make the switch, it's really difficult to reverse it, right?
So just yesterday, I filed papers with the court. A woman passed away, and she was the guardian over her son, who's disabled. All right, we didn't even get into that area. We were talking about the senior market, but there's a plethora of people who are disabled who need assistance as well. They are either individuals who came back from combat, or autistic children, or special needs, whatever the term is. And the woman passes away. She's the mother of this disabled child. And fast forward, now the court is asking me to select a substitute guardian over the son because mom is no longer in the picture. So yeah, on the heels of, if the father in Britney Spears situation decided to say, I want out, somebody else would have to step in to make those decisions.
Wow, that's tough for you to choose too. So in that case, in that specific situation, it was your decision of who was the guardian next?
It's going to be the decision of the families. The father, on that particular instance, the father now is not in a position to help the son. He is got his own medical issues, but there's a very close family friend who has stepped up to help the father. So I'm presuming that she'll also step up to help the son as well. Yeah. 20 minutes before our meeting, I sent her an email saying, this is what's going on. Let's talk at 8:30, 8:45. So.
Oh, wow. Holy smokes.
Oh, my gosh.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah,
let us know.
Please.
Let us know. That's interesting.
Yeah. So one of the things, too, so we're getting close to the end here, and I like to get some entrepreneurial questions out. Now, when you were obviously getting through, the first couple of years in business, what were some of your biggest challenges, and then what is something you're the most proud of, to date?
The same challenge I had then is the same challenge that I have now, which is to educate the consumer. There was a outfit called Sims Business, Clothier, where an educated consumer is our best customer. The more informed you are, the better you are to handle these situations. Right. It's a level of sophistication. The more informed the buyer is to ask the right questions, that's going to be a individual that I appreciate to handle matters with. Right. And going to my blog, I send out a blog post every single day. So there's a lot of good concrete information, and I'll just plug it, Eckman.Elderlaw. That's the blog. So you can go into my website and check out my blog and go there. Those are the most difficult challenges. What am I most proud of? Well, economically, back in '94 when I graduated, there was a minor recession, so people weren't hiring. So I decided to just open up my own practice. And people were saying, "Oh, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy." Well, there's nothing like working for yourself. On one hand, you have any day vacation you want. On the other hand, you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from.
Yep.
So there are perks and drawbacks on both. But I was able to get into a field at that time. And had I been more, and this is another regret, I am not as computer savvy as your generation. I get that. I respect that. We were coming into being right when the internet was exploding, and we didn't quite understand what that all was about. So had I spent my time developing my web presence back then the way I have now, it would be a lot better, if you will.
I like that. Meg, do you have any final questions?
And if I can just make one final comment, yeah. I used to do my seminar. I used to get my business by going to the local libraries, inviting the seminar attendees through the mail, the typical conventional way, speak to 40, 50 seniors who would pack the library, and I do 3 or 4 of these a month. And I meet 200 people, and invariably they would become clients. Well, unfortunately, with COVID, libraries are closed, seniors don't gather to that extent anymore. So what I've done was I've tilted more to the social media presence. whereby I am on Facebook, I am on LinkedIn, I am on Google My Business, I am on podcasts and stuff like that. So my SEO presence, all that stuff in related matters are much bigger and a better presence than it was 2-3 years ago.
Right.
Definitely. Do you want to share some of your social media profiles? So you mentioned you're on Facebook and Instagram. Is the handle the same on both?
Not Instagram, LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn?
I haven't graduated to Instagram yet, but I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Google My Business in both Union, Hackensack, and Wayne. And you can go to my website, Eckman.elderlaw.com, and get a lot of good information about everything we talk about. I don't just post issues relating to legal matters. I also talk about senior health related matters. For instance, last week I just posted an article about what food products is good to eat to avoid having kidney stones, or why is broccoli a good food product for you to prevent Alzheimer's, something like that. Something a little different out of the box. And I try to snoop around looking for articles that will help support that position.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna throw you on the spot, Ben. You ready for this?
Sure.
So now, because obviously based off the work that you do, and this is something that I do for every guest, so it's not just you I'm doing this to, but I like to understand obviously legacy, right, and what the goal is, right, and there's no better way to do that than reverse engineer the end, right, where you're working with some of your clients right now, right. So, on your gravestone, there's typically loving father, business person, whatever it is, right? What would your plot say, when it's your time, and how are you working to get towards that legacy?
Sincere, compassionate, legitimate. Basically, I help save people's assets when they're faced with crises.
Right.
And if that is an epithet, use it. If it's more of a slogan, use it. But in a nutshell, what was my phrase? Elder law. Because what's the phrase I use? Elder law. You're a day older than you were yesterday. Okay? And he who has the most birthdays lives the longest. So it's all about positivity. Whether it's going out with a young lady and she rejects you, or a client says thank you, but I'm not interested in retaining your services. I've been rejected by many, and any person who is in self-employed or in business and has been rejected cannot sit back and sulk over the answer no.
Right.
King Solomon once said, "I fall 7 times, but I get up 8." And he was known as being the wisest man. So I take that to heart, because if you don't want to retain me and you don't want to work with me, that's fine. It's now cleared me up to work on other matters to help other clients who will. Right. And to that end, if the client doesn't want to spend $500 on a consultation, I respect that. Right. But that client is probably not going to spend several $1,000s to protect several $100,000.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a good way to.
The mindset of people.
Yeah.
I love.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love how quickly you came up with your gravestone. You already knew this. You've been thinking about this, Ben.
My wife has already bought our plots. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry, Ben. You were about to say something.
Absolutely, just forgot. I'm seeing your moment myself.
There we go. So, all right, guys, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Ben, thank you so much for your time today. We believe time is the one asset we do not get back. Everybody give elder law a look through, and I would challenge anybody out there, whether they're young, old, to look into this, right? And even if you have family members that are a little bit older, it can't hurt. I know a lot of people, Ben, personally, in my life, that friends and family and stuff that have been put in positions where they're not financially set up for what could happen next, or if you get sick and things like that. So I definitely would like everybody to take a look at Ben and at the very least, check out the blog, know about broccoli and all the good stuff. And Ben, again, thank you so much, my man.
John, Megan, a pleasure having met you today.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
Same here. Again, we really appreciate your time.